Welcome to Rob's Wrestling Reviews. This is your review for 205 Live and NXT for this week. We'll start with 205 Live. 205 Live starts with a video package highlighting last week's semifinal matches with Drew Gulak going over Mark Andrews and Mustafa Ali going over Buddy Murphy. It also highlights tonight's match, which will be Roderick Strong versus Cedric Alexander. The show fully kicks off with a tag team match between Hideo Itami and Akira Tozawa, taking on probably one of the worst tag team names I've ever heard. Lucha House Party is the new name for Gran Metalik and Lince Dorado. They come out with Callisto. I guess they need a name. Anyway, the match was pretty good. Not fantastic by any means. It starts with Gran Metalik taking over pretty early on with his quick offense. So does Lince Dorado. And we get a couple spots. The real story is Hideo Itami. Starts out as friendly competition, but as the match goes on, Hideo starts getting a little bit more angry, and eventually he starts really laying in his strikes. Gran Metalik goes for a move, tweaks his leg, which leads to Hideo Itami capitalizing and hitting a new finisher, cross between a crossroads and a code breaker, kind of. A kind of weird new move. I guess they're trying to get him away from the GTS after the injury to Brian Kendrick. It's all right. GTS is a better move, though they also may be trying to get rid of it so they can get rid of the CM Punk chance. Again, this is a decent match, but I like where they're going with Itami starting to show the seeds of a heel turn, kind of similar to how he ended up being at the tail end of his NXT run. Hope to see good things there. Next, Drake Maverick comes out, and apparently he's coming out to, I didn't know this, but I found out later on, apparently it is the music Xavier Woods used prior to him using either R-Truth's or the New Day's music. This is apparently the music he used in NXT, but Drake Maverick is now using it as his entrance. He comes out to commentate a match coming up between Jack Gallagher and a local talent named Murphy Myers. This is a pretty quick match. It really just is a squash match for Jack Gallagher. It looks like he's finally using his headbutt as his finisher. He uses that as his finisher here, which I do think is a lot more brutal looking than his running drop kick is. I've always thought the headbutt looks really effective, and with his more aggressive character that he's using now, I think the headbutt fits better. Next, we get a vignette with Cedric Alexander hyping up the match with Roderick Strong. He talked about when he gained the fans' respect during the Cruiserweight Classic match with Kota Ibushi. He also talked about how he used to be a heavyweight and dropped weight just for that tournament, and ever since he's been really building up his repertoire in the Cruiserweight division. He's nothing like anybody else in the Cruiserweight division. His moves are different. He can brawl when he has to. He can fly when he has to. He says nothing's going to stop him from going to WrestleMania and winning the Cruiserweight Championship. Next, we get a really cool vignette with Mustafa Ali. Shows him in a dark corridor. He starts talking about how he's had to deal with bullies his entire life. Buddy Murphy was tried to be a bully last week. The week before, Jack Gallagher tried to bully him, and he knows that Drew Gulak is going to try to bully him next week. And while he's talking, there's like this kind of big hulking figure. You see him at the beginning of the vignette come out of a door, and you can slowly see him walking up closer to Ali, Uh, but just as Ollie's getting ready to finish, uh, you see the figure start to run, and then the camera cuts off. I thought that was a cool vignette. I don't know who the figure was. Uh, Maybe it was supposed to be Drew Gulak. I don't know. But that was a really cool segment. A really cool way they did it. A lot different than what you normally see in a backstage vignette like that. It wasn't like taken backstage. It was this dark corridor. Uh, Almost had a ominous feel to it. It was really cool. This was pretty much a one-match show, but this match was every bit of the match it should be. Rightfully so. It got the amount of time it needed. There was some fantastic spots in this match. At one point, Cedric Alexander does hit the lumbar check just before the ref's hand goes down to 3. Roderick Strong just finally gets his foot up onto the bottom rope to stop the 3 count. Rod hits a brutal looking backbreaker onto Cedric Alexander using the corner post. It looked absolutely brutal. Cedric goes to the outside. Looks like he's in excruciating pain. At one point, Roderick Strong is able to hit End of Heartache, but just like before, Cedric Alexander gets his foot onto the bottom rope and stops the 3 count that way. A little further into the match, Roderick Strong goes for another End of Heartache, and Cedric Alexander is able to reverse that into an inside cradle for the 1-2-3. This match got a lot of time, got 20 minutes. They probably could have cut another match and gave it another 10 minutes here, but 20 minutes was fantastic. Great match. Both guys could have won. I see Cedric Alexander. It's nice to see Cedric Alexander going to WrestleMania. He deserves that spot, I think. He was supposed to face Enzo for the title before. It's right for Cedric to get that match at WrestleMania. I would assume it'll be against Drew Gulak, which should be a really good match. After the match, Dasha Fuentes comes in, interviews Cedric Alexander after his win. A pretty good impassioned promo here by Cedric. Cedric hasn't always been the best talker, but you could really hear his passion. The fans start to say, "Chant, you deserve it." And he said, "No, I didn't deserve anything. I earned this match. I earned my shot at WrestleMania." Really good way to end 205 Live. On to NXT. NXT starts with the first of 2 Dusty Classic Tag Team matches. This one pitting Sanity taking on Riddick Moss and Tino Sabatelli. Pretty standard match here. Tino and Riddick got a few spots here and there, but are quickly beaten by Eric Young and Alexander Wolf. Pretty quick match here. Nothing bad. Next, we get a match between Dakota Kai and Lacey Evans. This is not a long match at all. Lacey Evans starts to work over Dakota Kai. Dakota is able to roll her up for a really quick 1-2-3. Quick win. This brings out Ember Moon, who accepts Shayna's challenge. Ember starts fighting Shayna. She gets ready to go to the top rope to do her eclipse, but Shayna catches her. She gets ready to do something to Shayna, and Dakota Kai out of nowhere hits Shayna with a really stiff-looking haluva kick. This then leads Ember to hit the eclipse onto Shayna Baszler. Then, just like last week, Tommaso Ciampa makes his way to the ring, and again picks up the mic like he's going to talk. The crowd once again completely boos him out of the building. Not as long of a segment here, and not quite as good as last week, but still pretty good here. Tommaso's still really looking good here. Tommaso leaves pretty quickly, leading to the next match, which is the next of the Dusty Rhodes Classic Tag Team matches, pitting Heavy Machinery up against the Street Profits. This was an okay match. Probably the worst of the Street Profits matches so far. Heavy Machinery, I'm not a big fan of. They're okay, but they're no different than any other two big guy tag teams. Heavy Machinery goes to do their compactor move, but Angelo Dawkins is able to trip one of them up, and Montez Ford is able to roll the other one up for a 1-2-3. Next, we get a United King Championship match between Adam Cole, who comes out with Undisputed Era, against Pete Dunne. This was a really good match. I think this is probably one of Adam Cole's best matches he's had since coming to NXT. A lot of times there's a lot more of the chicken shit heel stuff, but this match he really got to do a lot of what he's known for, a lot of his good moves, the good hard hitting punches. Pete Dunne's forearms just look brutal, but eventually with Undisputed Era on the outside, eventually there is some distractions. Adam Cole is able to take the upper hand for a while. He does hit his suplex neck breaker move, but Pete Dunne is able to kick out of it. Pete Dunne is just about to hit the bitter end on Adam Cole when Undisputed Era come in and cause a DQ. This brings out Roderick Strong, who tries to fight off the Undisputed Era, but the numbers game starts catching up with him. But in a surprise, Pete Dunne actually helps out Roderick Strong and chases off the Undisputed Era. I wasn't expecting a babyface Pete Dunne. Didn't think that you could pull off a babyface Pete Dunne, but I think they're doing pretty good. They didn't change anything about him. He just is now fighting the heels. And finally, we have the contract signing for the NXT Championship match, which is supposed to be Aleister Black and Andrade Cien Almas, but Cien Almas does not come out. Zelina Vega does instead. She said Andrade is not here tonight. She will be signing the paperwork for him. She goes in to start really tearing into Aleister verbally. One thing I wanted to point out, Zelina Vega sounds a lot like AJ Lee. This is fitting, seeing as Zelina Vega is playing AJ Lee in the Paige biopic that they made last year. But I never really thought of her sounding that much like AJ Lee, but she really does here. She's got a little bit thicker of a Hispanic accent, but other than that, she sounds almost identical. Eventually, Aleister Black starts kind of making fun of how short Zelina Vega is and says, you know, you came out here alone tonight, but I didn't. This leads to Candice LeRae's music hitting. Candice LeRae comes out and starts beating the tar out of Zelina Vega and runs her off. The show ends with Candice LeRae and Aleister Black standing pretty tall. This is a fun episode of NXT. I've never seen a bad NXT episode, and this is probably one of the lesser episodes because the two tag matches didn't really matter because you knew who was going to. I think people pretty much knew who was going to win those matches. A little, I guess it could have gone either way between Heavy Machinery and Street Profits, but Street Profits have been the much more popular tag team, so it was a smart decision to go that way. Everybody knew Sanity was going to win their match. Riddick Moss and Tino Sabatelli are jobbers to the stars right now. They're not going to beat Sanity. So those weren't surprises. The match between Dakota Kai and Lacey Evans didn't really matter. The post-match segment with Ember Moon, Shayna Baszler, and Dakota Kai was really, really good here. Was really good tonight. And the match between Adam Cole and Pete Dunne, that was really good. Above all, really good show here. I'll see you later.